So I'll get it done and bring it with you. Okay. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, I heard that. There's no way we can. That's why you don't you dare.
You getting that today? Finally. 3 o'clock.
What is that, a service? Oh, okay. Like I said, COVID now, and we're 2 years in, but that's why you got to.
Sorry I didn't dress up. I got
Got your dog out in the car? Okay. Okay.
I usually leave her out there with 5 days, 2 hours ain't bad, but it runs over.
Well, you go to the room factory now, isn't
She does real good. She's all right with it.
it? Yeah.
After 2 hours, 2.5. Even me sitting out there. I'm me sitting out the window. No, she's good little dog, man.
You know, a few weeks ago, I went on the road. I went to fix that and around those curves. That's nice.
Oh, that's really, really good. Really, that's the best I ever did. Best I ever did. I've been 50-some years. I've been over 50 or 60 years over there. And, it's the best I ever did. Right there at the bridge, when they put that bridge in, it's on the east side, there's a little drop over you hit in on the east side of the bridge, but they got cement level with the bridge when they
Well, they did
the
that on
bridge.
Route 6 sticker, 128 Friday. That's 70 when they first put that in.
Yeah, it's stuff like that happens. Tar Hill Road ain't bad. They had to go in and they oiled it and white rock, but which is on top of it. But that taking the water, see, you got to kind of seal it.
Oh, okay.
So you know what I mean? That's 3 different rock and stuff in there, but they had to seal that. You know, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Down.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, what you had to cover it. Yeah, that's what the places where it is breaking up, and water goes down.
That's a nice thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I ride a motorcycle, and I usually go down to the
Oh, do you? Yeah.
I've been down there probably half the time.
There was a old man that died last year. He had a spring here, and his grandfather here. And when they buried him, the front yard, about half full of water underneath his arm. And they said,
I've seen so many people, it was unbelievable how many people got water.
oh yeah. But it was, he used to keep track of it pretty all the time, but his boy don't do it very good, Yeah, old Paul, I knew him real good. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he
Well,
did.
people seem to take care of that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Here we go.
All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the prayer and pledge of allegiance.
Swear tonight's by, I think, yes, thank you, Denny. I didn't want to speak out of hand and say it was the wrong person.
Please bow your heads and open your hearts. As we come together today, we ask that we have the strength, wisdom, and good judgment to make wise decisions for the citizens of our county. We also ask that our troops and all emergency personnel are kept safe and protected from harm. We ask all of this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Kenny Barr.
Here.
Barbara Bennett. Here. Mark Bennett. Teresa Bain. Here. Paul Canaday. Here. Brian Kaufman.
Here.
Dennis Sturdivich.
Here.
Jesse Durbin.
Here.
Julie Edwards. Here. Gary Gergany.
Here.
Rod Height. Larry Lenz.
Yes.
Robert Orman.
Here.
Gary Patterson.
Here.
Gary Piercy.
Here.
John Poe.
Here.
Robert Simpson.
Here.
Jeff Slifer.
Yes.
David Switz.
Yep.
Don Tate.
Here.
Lynn Williams.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. Everybody got a copy of last month's meeting minutes, both the special and the regular board meeting. Do we need to do those separate on a list? Can we approve them all at once? Separate. Any corrections or additions to the October 14th regular board meeting? All those in favor of approving those? I'll need a motion
I'll
to...
move that we approve the minutes of the October 14th board meeting.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any additions or corrections to the October 22nd board special meeting minutes? Motion approved. Back here, Don Tate. Second. Jesse. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Move on to public body comment. One thing I request is when you stand up to speak, would you please give your name so I know who you might be. Open up to public body comment. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Sharon Onman, and I would like to also request that as all the council people speak, they give their names, because I hear the names, but I don't know who is who on everybody. So if they could give names, I'd appreciate it.
We'll see if we can get that done. Any other comments? Yes, Bobby.
Bobby Orman. In this past month, I was approached from a constituent down on Civil about the Greenbelt Highline power line coming through. Basically, I've kind of talked with Christian County. I guess they've got some literature or some language in the works to get approved. Basically, there's a large amount of concern about health concerns with the High Line. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention for future business. If I can get a hold of if the board actually approves some sort of language, I'll send that on to Nicole and start drafting something up with the zoning committee. I think we need to look into that and definitely address it. There were some health issues. I guess these lines are, not to put words in his mouth, but as big as your arm, and they carry hundreds of thousands of volts. And what happens is the transmission lines themselves mess with GPS, mess with people's pacemakers, other things that are electronic because they're moving so much current. So what our neighboring counties are working on is making some sort of ordinance that goes underground. So, I just wanted to make you guys all aware of it. I was contacted this month and done a little bit of legwork to get some language, but I don't think it went before their board yet. It just had gone through their Board of Appeals. So, anyway, I'll...
comment on that too. I think they're trying to get just like eminent domain.
Well,
It's a private company, but they're trying through the state to get eminent domain, which is not good for the landowners.
I do believe they've already got eminent domain.
And might be, I don't know, they didn't have, but the
But-
first time they tried, but maybe they passed a new bill.
The landowners down in the Sigel neighborhood were definitely concerned about, because it's kind of like wind turbines. You got a height to the tower, well, you got to clear a right of way. That way, if you go through trees or something like that, if the tower falls, it falls within the right of way. But so it's, in my opinion, it's pretty invasive, and it could be after effects that haven't been realized yet. But anyway, just want to bring that to your attention.
Thanks, Bobby. Any other public body comment?
Denny Durnovich, I got a couple things. Today is November the 10th. Doesn't mean a lot of people, but for some people it does. Today is the birthday of the United States Marine Corps. And I think we ought to give them all a round of applause. And tomorrow is Veterans Day, and I'd also like to wish all of them a good day too. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other public body comment? Yes, ma'am.
Julie Albert. I just was at the Historical Society and I heard that you're trying to sell Kilo, and I just about fainted and fell over because I'm trying to liaison with the national chairman to once again get a new award, just much like we did with the dive team. There was a team, a Distinguished Citizen Medal, first in the U.S. ever in DAR history, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and here's my person I was going to say, hey, these and Coles County, I mean, it's just amazing. There's 50,000 police dogs in the U.S., and we've got one of them. And I'm like, these are just major people, I would think, that are assisting and defending, which is the Distinguished Citizen Award, defending us. And I'm thinking, there's old Kilo out there. He doesn't care. He's going to go out there and help us no matter what. So I have no idea the background of it, just what I heard coming in, but I'm like, can we do something? I mean, what can we do? I mean, I know Coles County has, I think, 7 or 8 dogs. And so I'm thinking, is there something we can do to keep Kilo or somehow do that? Because I'm just saying, I think that's a tool in our toolbox, the way I convinced the national chairman. I said, when you're throwing every tool that you can, and these are highly trained dogs, they help us in the military. There's over 2,000 military dogs. And I'm like, we've got one of 50,000 in the whole U.S. And I'm thinking, man, I don't want to lose that person, or I don't want to lose that dog with that handler to protect the people of the Shelby County. So I want to see what can we do to stop that. Well, I'm willing to help out as much as I can. I don't know what I can do, but I'm trying to
Sheriff
figure
McDermott will
something
address
out.
that when we have the resolution.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Any further public body comment? Any further public body comment? Any further public body comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 6 on the agenda. Well, let me rephrase that. I believe number 5, there's no one to be appointed yet for a Republican to replace the vacant District 4 seats. We'll move on to 6. Where I announce the vacancy of the office of Shelby County Sheriff due to the retirement of Sean McQueen. Hate to see another retirement, but I guess we're getting a little older in some of our employees. So, move on to number 7. Amelia, I'm gonna slaughter this last name. I'm not even gonna attempt it. If you'd like to give me your last name, I would greatly appreciate it.
Hi everyone. My name is Amelia Onasorge.
Thank you, Onasorge.
I know it's weird.
I wouldn't have got that, so
Hi, sorry. It's good evening, everyone. My name is Amelia Onasorge. I'm a pretrial probation officer here for Shelby County. I'm here this morning, this afternoon. I apologize. It's been a long day. As you all know, December is approaching, which means also the holiday season is coming around the corner as well. With that being said, typically during this time of year, we see the most accidents occurring that involve driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol. I'm here this evening to spread awareness of our society's problem of impaired driving. Every year during the holiday season, we place a tree in the courthouse basement on the main level in memory of those who've lost their lives in an accident due to impaired driving. In the past, we've appreciated the county board's proclamation declared December as Drunk and Drug Driving Prevention Month. We are asking the county board to continue this tradition for the month of December. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody like to make a motion to,
I'll make the motion.
Julie?
Yeah.
Is there a second? Denny? All those in favor of the Drunk and Drug Driving Prevention Month proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, Amelia.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Like I said, I apologize for not even attempting your name, so
It's weird.
good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Number 8, looks like Jay's going to, well, is it Jay or you, Nicole? Okay. Okay.
I was waiting for you to screw up my name.
Well, if I mess that one up, Jay, then I've got a lot of problems in the world. You need to take me to the hospital.
All right.
So, ratification, discussion of ratification of FOP contract.
I'll just kind of hit the highlights. We made quite a few changes, just some stylistic things. I don't know how many of you have the contract with you, but one of the things we did was go back to making sure that people didn't give vacation until their anniversary date of their hire, and had been kind of gone to January 1st. We thought, from the county standpoint, that it was better you serve a full year before the vacation rolls over. We did have a transition period, so that's actually going to take effect fully on January 1st of 2023. We have a transition period where we're kind of blending it from what had been the past practice. And we made it so that if, during the transition period, if people leave before their anniversary date in 2023, they'd have to have the what they had not earned deducted from their paycheck if they leave the service of the county. Let's see, on FMLA, we made a change so that the employee does not have to use all of their unpaid leave before application of the Family Medical Leave Act. That way they can extend the time off if they need to with vacation or unused sick days.
Jay, what page are you on?
Oh, I'm sorry, you got, that was on 14?
Okay, could you run back through that explanation real quick? I've got something in my head where as soon as you've got a critical something going on, you should apply for FMLA in the event that it escalates, correct? So can you explain that again, because I didn't quite.
Like if I had 2 weeks vacation saved up, or a deputy had 2 weeks vacation saved up, they could use that to extend their time off. It wouldn't be FMLA starting on day 1 of their absence. Say they had to have open heart surgery, something like that. That explain it?
Oh, sorry, I thought.
Yeah.
How many days specifically do they have to miss before the FMLA kicks in? I know, like, for my employer, it's 3 days, and we are required to apply for FMLA after 3 days.
I do not know the answer to that.
Would it benefit the employee to have that in the contract?
Well, I think the whole point is here, if you've got time coming to you, you can use that to extend the time off. And it's
So
just
this
kind of
kicks in then after their paid
they
time that they have?
exactly.
Gotcha.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is their sick time that they have coming, is it coded as sick time and FMLA time? Does it come out of the FMLA bank? Or do they get sick time and then they have the FMLA bank on top of that?
Sick time, then the FMLA.
That's good.
Okay, anything else on that?
Erica?
My only question is, according to our associate health insurance contract, there's a specific amount of time, so if all of these provisions are going to extend past that 180 days, they will not qualify under our health insurance plan, which from what I've been told by Consociate, industry standard is going to shrink down to 90 days.
So we're putting the county at jeopardy because we're self-insured when specifically the consociate contract says 180 days. If any of this language extends beyond that, they will not have insurance coverage under the county plan.
Okay, anything else? Then on,
So we just don't move on? I mean, we're not going to address the fact that our employees may not have insurance?
They get put on COBRA. They get put on COBRA, I believe, after that. Is that correct, Erica? I think that's what they told us when we had that issue coming up this past year, that they should have been put on COBRA.
We just got bailed out on the other issue because a secondary insurance covered $170,000 worth of coverage.
Right.
Which, when you're the primary, you're primary for so many days. Secondary, gives up so much. But from my communications with Consociate Insurance, the issue that we had with an employee in the last year, I got a phone call a couple weeks ago that basically this county just had a miracle. The other insurance picked up $170,000, which through my communications a month and a half prior to that was we weren't going to be covered, and I'm like, how are we going to eat the $170,000? I mean, we have to be very specific with these contracts. We've got some issues going on that the language in our contracts with providers are in direct conflict with our union contracts. We need to get that straight. We are self-insured.
Lynn.
To help, Lynn Williams, to help everybody, I believe, isn't it a law or something that, I'm talking about COBRA. If you do not have, that insurance, you automatically have the option to go on COBRA. That's the way my understanding of it is.
COBRA is for separation of employment. They don't go on COBRA until they're separated from employment. So if we're going to keep them on employment, through FMLA, which is law, or keep them on employment, Brian, they don't qualify for COBRA. I guess so to answer your question, no, they won't qualify for COBRA if we're going to extend their employment based on whatever this provision is.
Page
The
15,
only time
Page 15 in the contract, article, my Roman numerals are not good. I think it's 19. Section C, no leave shall be granted for a period exceeding 180 days consecutively. That's what you're talking about there.
Yes, and the contract with Consociate says 180 days, but when they don't file COBRA, or FMLA, as Julie said, and then they try to file it after whatever time,
Well, the 180 day of consecutive days is in this contract that they can't do that. Can't have more than 180 days consecutive.
Well,
So it's in the contract.
Past practice in the county is we've done well more than 180 days and more than 100.
Well, we have it spelled out in the contract now, so that it is in the contract.
We don't follow contracts in the county either, so.
It is in the contract now. Any other questions on that? Okay, Jake, please.
okay. Let's see. We had a new section on page 17 about shift bidding. That gets put into the contract. That was the past practice, but we put that in there. If you go to page 18, we go to wages and compensation. Everybody at the sheriff's office, except for one employee, was already in the matrix, one of the two matrices. We agreed, or the committee agreed, to add the only remaining employee, Tim Culberson, to the Unit B matrix. He would start actually at the start salary effective September 1st, 2023. That would involve him getting an increase in salary, but then everybody over there will be in the union. Then if you go down to the next paragraphs where the numbers for the matrix are listed, in each one of those three paragraphs, deputy matrix in 2021, 2022, and 2023 increased by 1,100. It used to be 1,000, and then 1,100 for the Matrix B. It used to be 1,050, and that's now 1,100. Then on page 19, specialty pay, section 21.4, that's a new section that was agreed to, adding 1,500 to the sergeant's base pay and 1,250 to the leads coordinator. Then they had a shift differential for people working the late shifts, which was also a new section there. Then on page 25, the continuing education 25.5, previously it was just it said they'll be paid in accordance with past practices. That wasn't spelled out. This section now spells out what the past practice was as far as how the deputies are compensated and how they handle going to continuing education. On page 28, the residency. This was relaxing the residency requirement, hoping to get some more people to come in as deputies. It used to be Shelby County residency. Now it is any surrounding county. We're having a real problem maintaining and attracting deputies here in the county, so hopefully this will open up some other people to come in as the thought behind that. Then if you go to Appendix E, new provision as well for lateral transfer. Again, because of the shortage we've got of deputies and all the deputies that are leaving, this allows the sheriff to bring people in at the pay rate, the wage rate, based upon their experience as law enforcement officers. So if they've got 20 years of service, they would come into pay rate at that rate rather than as a new employee. The seniority date would be as a starting employee as far as the comparison with the other employees in the union. And then I think those are about all the main points of the big changes that we had. So anybody have any questions about any of those?
I just, as a new member, who is responsible for going over that contract with new employees?
I would assume the sheriff would go over that.
And then who's responsible who's culpable when that contract, if that contract is not followed? And I only ask because we have an audit the size of a phone book that says the contract had not been followed.
Well, I don't think we have all the finals on that yet, do we? I know there's some issues that have been raised and some things have been brought up. I don't know what the end result that's going to be.
But that's who we would go to for answers if there's an audit done and we find out a contract is not followed.
Well, I mean, everybody's supposed to follow the contract. That's the way
Well, in a
it's
perfect
supposed
world,
to be. And
everybody does, but
hopefully moving forward with different people in
hopefully,
place,
yes, I agree.
that'll be done.
Okay.
Yes.
The old contract, the forensic auditor was very pointed at what a messed up contract that was. We had talked about having the auditor look over the new contract. Did we go that step?
I sent it to Mr. Vanderberg and he had not responded yet. I called him today to see where he was at with it. He had not yet reviewed it, but I did talk to him on the phone before I emailed him the contract. And part of what he was criticizing was the vacation issue, and we had already corrected that, so I'm hoping there won't be any other major issues that he sees. If there are, we can always come back with a memorandum of understanding to present to change it if necessary.
And one other thing I mentioned on, there was an issue with Jeff Wood is starting, I think his 25th or 6th year. That wasn't included in the matrix. We're going to fix that with a memorandum of understanding. It just wasn't on there. But anything like this that comes up, if there's a problem, we can sit down with the committee and we can address it and change it.
But would it be to our advantage to wait until the auditor can go over that? And
we would really like to get this passed because of the dire straits the sheriff's office is in.
I understand that.
And we can always come back and change it. you got me.
No, as I say, with my conversation with John, he was, just could not believe that whole contract. He said it was horrible. I think if I remember his conversation, the worst he'd ever seen. And,
I would like to know the details of that. I mean, like I say, we can fix it. Yes, sir.
The new contract, I think, does fix about 90% of the issues that we had, and I think you guys did pretty good at addressing most of those, and there was transitions from the vacation pay, and that all looked pretty good to me. I'm sure there's always some room for improvement in there somewhere. There wasn't anything that stood out overwhelmingly that was a huge issue to me, but one question I did kind of come up with as just a general theme is there was a lot of reference to past practice in there, so my question is, if you have a new contract, why address past practice? Aren't we starting from scratch here with the new contract once that other one's expired?
Well, what are you referring to past practice, though?
It's probably in there a dozen times. I don't know. Just throughout, there was reference to just different past practices on things.
Well, the things that came up, I think everybody was pretty happy. There weren't any issues with anything except for the big things with changing the pay and things that I mentioned. And we tried to spell out one of the continuing continuing education that simply referenced past practice, and so we tried to address that.
Yeah, my question, I guess, is why that phrase in particular makes it into a contract. Why does it reference something that's old and expired, I guess?
Like I said, everybody sat down, we had the issues, what people wanted to change, they brought it, and that's what we addressed when we got together.
And the FOP can arbitrate if we, depending on facts and circumstances, if we deviate from past practice, that is something they can allege at an arbitration. So this was a compromise reached to avoid that expense, and it was agreeable to the committee and the FOP. Everybody was happy with it, meeting in the middle.
Past practice is in direct conflict with the new contract, though? I guess that's my question.
Past practice can be taken into account when you go down that road.
The past practice came into play when we're giving them the 1 year to adjust that vacation time, for instance, because they've been giving them vacation time on January 1st since the 1990s. Some of the employees, that's all they've ever known. So to avoid arbitration, to come up with an agreement everybody was happy with, we gave them that 1 year, and everybody understands we're adjusting it to the contract that was intended to begin with.
Derek, what was the 10% that you wasn't?
Questions like that, I guess, more than anything. And some of the stuff was, one of the things that, let me find the other thing here, had to do with subcontracting, but that appeared in the old contract too. But my question on like the subcontracting, that was section 5.1, and I think it was word for word, same as the old contract, but it says the employer reserves the right to contract out any work it deems necessary in the interest of the economy, improved work product, or emergency. I don't know what that means, or if that's just an open-ended and who the employer is in that scenario and that sort of thing. I didn't find that part to be spelled out. Exactly what that was for, I guess. That was one of the other things I found out.
Anything else?
That was it.
Yes,
On page 12, section 16.3, am I reading that someone could get 2.5 times his normal pay?
what specifically are you referring to?
Well, it says if an employee works on any of the paid holidays described above, the employee shall be paid at the rate of time and 1/2 for all hours worked in addition to his regular pay. Which that means, the way I read that, he gets 2.5 times pay.
I believe that was in the old.
Hey, Brian, can I say something?
Yes, you may, Teresa.
I think that's standard for any labor agreement and stuff. You're gonna get paid for the holiday, you stay home, and then if you work the hours, you get premium time for the hours that you work.
But it also says further, though, that you get, it also says time and, or double time down in there also, though.
Well,
In that same
that
paragraph.
very well could be, depending on the days, as far as where I worked at and stuff. Double time enters into it, like on a Sunday or something like that. But yes, I think that could be. I'd have to look at the days and stuff, but on a holiday, if you're gonna get paid to stay home, like Veterans Day tomorrow, and if you come into work, you get premium time for working those days. Is the way it's always been in a labor agreement that I've been associated with.
So is the premium time double time or double time and a half?
It may depend on when it was acquired. If you work more than 16 hours in a time period, you may have time and a half or double time. The agreements that I've worked with and stuff before.
This appears to be 2.5 times. Time and a half plus your regular pay.
Well, he's gonna get 8 hours pay because of the holiday. And then if you work it, you're gonna get time and a half for working it. So it's 2.5 times his hours.
Question.
We pay double time and a half for holidays.
Is this consistent with the ASME contract?
Cannot answer that at
I
a
don't
time.
think anybody asked me.
Yeah, they
can.
Yeah, the election day that's a holiday, the county clerk's staff gets double time because everybody else in the county has the holiday off and they're working the election.
So ASME just is double time, and this is stated 2.5 times.
They get double time if they don't work.
If they don't work.
If they don't work, they get holiday not work time plus their base pay, double time if they don't work.
If it's their regular day off.
Well, AFSCME did not ask for double and a half pay. That wasn't even an issue we addressed in our negotiations.
No, and it doesn't normally impact ASME employees.
Right.
Exactly,
Typically no, but
right.
there it is in the contract.
On behalf of, if you guys want to pass this, you could take that one item that you were having problems with, that double time and a half, pass everything except for that item and have an MOU. Okay? Why can't you?
They've already all agreed to this contract. So you'd have to go back to negotiations.
I think you could.
That's a language in the previous contract.
That's the same, correct? That's
Yes,
what I was
sir.
going to ask. I thought it was.
Okay, looks like there's two different ways of saying it, isn't there? I mean, two different, one is time and a half and another one is just regular pay plus time.
Like was said though, that did carry over, that was in the previous contract. I don't know how far back it goes, but it was in the previous contract. But we didn't renegotiate that.
So the time is double time and a half, and that's what they get. And that, if they work, they get double time and a half. I mean, if that's the standard, if that's what we do, I sure don't have a problem with paying police. But I guess we need to make sure that it's not double time
one time and double time and a half another time, and
Well, I said that's been what they've been doing in the previous contract. Because that language, that's the same language as in the last contract.
So I have a question for either Jay or the negotiating committee or the legislative committee. There's improvements to part of the contract. There's always gives and takes. What, in a nutshell, what were the gives and takes? Anybody want to throw that out?
Well, they wanted a little bit more money, and we wanted the vacation thing back to anniversary date. Those are the two main
how is
things.
that a negotiation when that's the way it was supposed to be to begin with?
I'm sorry.
I don't really see how that's a negotiation when that's how it was supposed to be to begin with.
Well, but we wanted to nail it down, so that's the way the practice is followed.
Do you have a motion to accept the contract, FOP contract, ratify the FOP contract? Teresa, second. Gary? Any discussion further? Those in favor? Well, you want to, are we spending money technically?
They're spending money, so.
I gotta say spending money, so we do roll call.
Yeah.
That's kind of what my question was, I guess technically we are.
Kenny Barr,
Yes.
Barbara Bennett,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
No.
Teresa Bain,
Yes.
Paul Canaday,
Yes.
Brian Kaufman,
Yes.
Dennis Durnovich,
Yes.
Jesse Durbin,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Gary Gergany,
No, I'd like to see us get that report.
Larry Lenz,
Yes.
Bobby Orman,
No.
Gary Patterson,
Yes.
Derek Piercy,
Yes.
John Poe,
Yes.
Robert Simpson,
Yes.
Jeff Slifer,
Yes.
David Switz,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries 17-3 with Mark Bennett, Gary Gergany, and Robert Orman voting no.
Thanks for all the hard work everybody put into doing that contract. Number 9, Nicole, we've got a discussion and vote on the Merit Commission rules, regulations, procedures.
Yes, the Merit Commission wanted to update their bylaws. The last time that had been done was 1994. So we wanted to clean up some of the language in it. The old bylaws did not comply with the Open Meetings Act, was one thing we needed to change. They added some eligibility requirements. The main thing, and it would go along with the FOP contract, they want to be able to bring in lateral hires because there's a very, very serious shortage of law enforcement in this county. And I believe Sheriff McReynolds has hopefully some potential lateral hires that may be interested, and we can hopefully get the police department built back up. It also permits the residency outside of the county as long as it's an adjoining county consistent with the FOP contract that was just ratified. It also gives the commission or the sheriff, other counties had this in their bylaws, and the committee voted to add this at the final paragraph, inspections, which reads at the request of the sheriff or by majority vote of the commission may periodically inspect and investigate the morale and efficiency of members of the sheriff's department and shall report any findings to the sheriff and the Shelby County Board in writing. The commission may make recommendations to the sheriff based upon its inspection and investigation as it deems appropriate. We are at an extreme shortage with deputies. If we don't get new deputies in here, it's possible we may be down to 3 deputies. 2 of them have offers, and if those 2 guys leave in the next few weeks, just between the 2 of them, that's 25 years of experience that's going to walk. I don't want to sell Kilo either. The reason we're going to bring that up is because the officer who is the only one trained to handle Kilo has left for another department. He did not leave law enforcement. None of our guys have left law enforcement. They've left for other departments. Most of them are leaving for Effingham, but a few have left just to Shelbyville City. They're staying in town, but they don't want to work for the sheriff's department anymore. So we have a real problem, and I think we need to know why this is happening. We don't have anybody available to train with Kilo, and he's a trained dog that can't be caged all day, and that's what's occurring currently. So we either need to find another department that can take him or a good home for him, and then once the department is back and operating as it should be, we will hopefully get a new canine and train the brand new officer. We also need somebody on a task force because the meth dealing in this county is completely out of control. It's being delivered at will. It's shocking. Me coming from Decatur, working in Macon County, I am shocked at the meth dealing that is going on in this county, and we don't have a task force operating here because we don't have an officer to put on that task force. You have to dedicate an officer. So the state of the Sheriff's Department is very serious for public safety, and I think the inspection paragraph is very important to the recommended bylaw change.
Do I have a motion to accept the proposed amended Merit Commission Rules, Regulations, Procedures? Gary, Denny, any discussion?
Second.
No, we had a second already, sorry. You got beat. Discussion?
Nicole, do you think that, oh, I'm sorry.
Page 9, paragraph, section 2 about the undersheriff. I think it's a minor thing, but I think in the first sentence, the second undersheriff should read sheriff.
You're correct, that is a typo that should read sheriff.
And then in your proposed change that's highlighted in yellow, instead of the word if, would a better word be providing?
Either or.
Huh?
We could use the word providing.
I mean, to me,
It gives the
a little more positive maybe, but anyway, that's just my thoughts on the situation.
I don't think the committee would have any issue with using the word providing.
Any other discussion? Is that an issue with voting on that with those two corrections needing to be done?
If there would be a motion to amend under the word undersheriff to sheriff and the word providing, I think the committee would be fine with that. It won't be an issue.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment to clean up some of the wording on section 2, page 9, section 2, chapter 4. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so now we'll vote on the contract as amended, or I guess it's not really the contract, is it?
Bylaws.
Bylaws as amended. Any further discussion on those? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Do we have a motion on that?
Yeah, it was motion, seconded.
I was reading.
Then we had an amended motion that was properly made, seconded, and that passed. We went back and voted on the amended motion. But thanks for trying to keep me on my feet.
I was worn out. I was down here in the
Okay, number 10, Sheriff McReynolds. Discussion and resolution for sale of Shelby County Sheriff K9 Kilo.
Sheriff Brian McReynolds, and I want to thank you for your comments earlier, and I agree with you that having a dog would be vital and is a good tool in the toolbox. However, with our manpower situation, we just don't see a way that we could keep him and working at this point. And Nicole touched on it already. We lost 5 certified deputies this year already, all to other law enforcement agencies, and he was our only certified canine handler. And to send a canine handler to school is a 10-week school currently, and we just do not have the manpower to be able to send him. This dog is currently sitting in a kennel, And so we want to get that dog hopefully back to work in another agency if possible, but if not, we just don't see in the near future that we're going to be able to send someone to work this particular dog. So when we get staffing to a level that we could, obtain another dog, send a deputy and start new, that would be what my preference would be down the road. So at this time, we're asking for the resolution you're provided to permission to sell Kilo.
Would anybody like to make that motion?
Yes.
Jeff? We got a second? Here. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, Bobby.
Is there any possible way that we could make an agreement with another surrounding county that either may need one or even further out that may need the dog, and then with the agreement of if we get staffing back in check, we bring him back?
I'm not saying that's impossible, but I think switching handlers and doing a 10-week certification so that dog could work again, that would probably be very difficult for them to take the dog, send somebody to 10-week school, and be willing to revert him back to us.
Okay, what's our expense to restart this program?
It would be the purchase price of a canine. We already have a canine vehicle, as long as we do it within the time frame that this vehicle is still going to be viable to use. So,
are we looking at $50,000 for the dog, the vehicle,
oh,
the
no,
training?
no. I mean, this particular dog was bought, we bought this one, we got him used, and we got him at $4,000. But a typical price is more in the $8,000 to $10,000 range.
Okay, 8 to 10 for the dog.
Right.
10 weeks for the deputy to go training, and then an appropriate vehicle, so we're stacking up. Are we looking at making $20,000 all in?
Right, other than we have the vehicles, what I'm saying, we do have that, so it would be buying the appropriate dog down the road.
So back to her comments about meth running amok in this county, how far committed do we want to get out of the canine unit? I mean, and I know what you're saying.
As soon as we can get staffing here, and the sooner the better, and I can't tell you when that is at this moment. We can't even get a deputy into an academy right now, and the way the academies are in Illinois. We can't lock down an academy date to get a deputy certified.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the resolution to sell K9 Kilo, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed?
Me.
Bobby?
I'm going to vote present, but the Lions Club gave him $1,000 for the dog.
Motion passed. Number 11, Julie Edwards. Discussion and vote to rescind the hiring and pay loss fee.
Julie Edwards, whoever needed the name. I spent a little time at the courthouse in the last few weeks. And first, I'd like to make a point. Shelby County does not have a payroll problem. Shelby County has a compliance problem. And the reason I'm kind of against the outsourcing of payroll is that I don't feel that outsourcing payroll to a third party is going to resolve that compliance problem. And I don't mean straight across the board, every department, whatever. But there are some issues with compliance to the contracts, to the policies and procedures we have in place for our department heads. And so when we talk about outsourcing payroll, I feel like that's a priority discussion we need to have. If we move payroll outside of the county, will the compliance issue be resolved? I don't see that happening. The payroll department itself in the treasurer's office is efficient, is correct, people get their paychecks on time. The problem is not delivering the payroll. The problem comes from compliance with our regulations of our department heads, some department heads. So, that being said, I would like to make a motion to rescind the action taken on 9/9/21 for an undisclosed agreement with Paylocity for payroll, timekeeping, and human resources.
Got a motion and a proper second. Any discussion?
Now, someone did give me some case law. I am not an attorney, Nicole, you can answer to this. And I'm not a mouthpiece for anyone either. This was just something that someone gave me that I would hope to address. And that is with Ashton v. Cook, in that you cannot outsource county business to a private entity, to a third-party, entity. Our resolution from 14th of August states that that it will be handled within the treasurer's office, payroll duties, payment of sick and vacation time, acts of authorized agent for IMRF, and manages self-insured health insurance, in addition to other human resource functions. This was passed, I believe, by this board. So I'm not sure why we're even having the discussion of outsourcing payroll. I mean, I don't know if anybody has gone to the treasurer's office and asked how payroll works or looked at I've got timesheets here and, I see a timesheet from one department where the person was underpaid according to their timesheet. The sheet that was signed by the department head does not reflect the current amount of hours the employee worked. So had we not had the backstep of our treasurer reviewing these, or her employee, I'm not sure, reviewing these timesheets, we would have had an employee underpaid. Now, I don't work in county, I work in the private sector, and I'm going to be honked off if somebody underpays me. So, I really don't think we're doing our county employees or our taxpayers any service by outsourcing payroll. We spent $56,000 to have CIC implemented, and that covers every single thing that Paylocity does. I mean, I made a suggestion about time clocks, and people laughed, but Paylocity is going to ask for electronic timekeeping. So I don't see the difference.
Julie, back to your Ashton v. Cook. What that's referencing is the functions and powers and duties of the treasurer, which the treasurer has those functions, powers, and duties as provided in the sections following this section and preceding. This is statute, by the way. Shall receive and safely keep all the revenues and other public monies of the county and all money and funds authorized by law to be paid to him, and disperse the same pursuant to the law. So, right there, they are to take in the funds and disperse the funds. The treasurers to do that. So having the HR in the treasurer's office is only conducive to maintaining this precedent area.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see how the non-compliance is going to be resolved by moving it out of the county.
Who's non-compliant? Because I know you're new on the board, Julie, but we brought that up one time. There was an allegation that department heads were non-compliant, and I emailed the current chairman, or the former chairman, and the treasurer and asked, who's non-compliant and who have you addressed that with? And I received no response.
I believe we have 2 outstanding audits that talk about non-compliance out the wazoo.
I don't have it back yet.
Specifically reference the departments that are
Yeah,
not.
I mean, I'm not trying to put anybody out specifically as naming names or whatever. I'm saying as a whole, there might be an issue because our auditors have brought that to our attention.
I agree with that. The auditor's report isn't finished, but aside from that, there was and this was before you were on the board, but there was this allegation that department heads are not complying. And I said, let's be fair. Who is it so they can come and defend themselves? And we didn't even know
for one example,
non-compliant.
To my knowledge, and maybe I've misunderstood this, but the health department employees have not turned in vacation time or sick time for 2 years. I mean, if I'm
Steve
wrong,
addressed that at a prior
We
meeting.
do it in-house. We have a double for inspection.
But doesn't our resolution say that it has to be done Through the treasurer's office?
That resolution that passed does say that, but there is statute that gives the Board of Health the power to maintain the vacation and benefit time with the department. We're not the same as other departments. We have a governing body.
Sure, I get that. I just don't understand how, even if you keep your record of vacation time, sick time, and this is, I'm just questioning, I'm not accusing. If you're keeping your record for your grant purposes, I assume, how does the treasurer, is she capable of doing her job if she doesn't
Policy
have?
needs to be changed. We need to be exempt.
Okay, but then we change the policy. We don't just do things at our will.
Well, I met with the county board ad hoc committee on March the 8th, 2020, and we were exempt from that. And that was part of the treasurer was in that meeting.
I don't recall that. Then there needs to be a resolution and there needs to be something in writing in public because there's never been anything passed by this board that calls the health department exempt. But Julie, I gave you the audits that point blank speak to the offices that are not compliant with payroll policy. That was not me, that was Weston Company.
Yeah, and we all got a copy of that audit, so I'm not trying to rehash all that.
Well, but it's saying that, I should not have to call out in public any other elected official. I'm an elected official, they're elected officials, it's not my job to call them out, and it's not my job to enforce the policy. The auditors have spoken to it. They're the ones that need to be listened to, not me.
I agree. Why have an audit if you're not going to listen to what they say?
I didn't realize we were in public body comment.
I apologize. I didn't hear what you said.
I said I didn't realize we were in public body comment.
Oh, gotcha.
It's on the Chairman. Any other discussion? Gary?
I brought up several times that the county board has not enforced the policy we passed. Almost every audit I've ever seen, they have brought out the issue of how haphazard and how sloppy our finance is. And we're shocked because we're hearing there may be some problems. And as the auditor said, we are prime for fraud. He said it's the worst he's seen. According to taking on a third outside party, that's in conflict with our board payroll policy. So,
It would be a new policy.
pardon?
If it's passed, it would be a new policy. The
But that
Paylocity.
policy is still in force now, and they've already made a decision to hand it off someone else.
The contract's not finalized, though. It was just an agreement. The majority of the board wanted to pursue an arrangement with Paylocity.
Nothing about this, how much it's going to cost, how the details are going to work. I don't think we're in any way, shape, or form ready for any decision on that. Plus, we're going to ask our we're going to ask our taxpayers to pay two people to do the same job. You explain that to the taxpayers, why 6,000 plus voted the Treasury in. Hear, hear.
Well, the taxpayers are also going to find out that it's going to be expensive because the FOP is going to arbitration because some of those employees weren't paid correctly when they resigned, and a special prosecutor has to handle that, and that's going to cost the taxpayer money. Depending on if a check is issued appropriately on Friday, there's going to be a Department of Labor complaint filed, and there's a second one.
Now, you've already decided that
No, the
we're wrong, even
employee.
though we haven't been to court.
The employee is going to file it, and that's out of my control. He has a right to file it, and there's a second employee that may do it. And 2 times from my office, money has been taken out without my authority. An employee was overpaid. So the treasurer's work is not, quote, efficient and correct. We're having problems, and most of the department heads are having problems.
Did you file a complaint when that was done incorrectly?
I address it with the treasurer, and I have it in writing.
Was there a investigation done? Because if somebody messes with mine, I'm not going to stand by and let it happen. There should be an investigation, there should be documentation, labor board should be called, and I mean, you know that as an attorney. You don't just say, well, they messed up a couple hours on paycheck and let it slide.
The employee in my office did not want to pursue a Department of Labor complaint. I addressed it with the treasurer, I have it in writing. After it happened the second time, It did not happen again. We let it go. It was up to the employee. If she wanted to file a Department of Labor complaint, she could have. She didn't want to cause problems. But this is the type of environment county employees are working in.
So,
Excuse me, I ask, we've had a lot of discussion on this, and I'm asking to end discussion.
Mark has one comment, and we can
That's
readdress.
fine.
Marky, would you like to?
what I hear here is words being traded back and forth, and from what I understand, you have to file a grievance. Whether it's comments that are made from either side. I hate to say this, but our state's attorney, even though a grievance wasn't filed, she is still filing blame on our treasurer. If you can't put it in writing and follow it, the employee decide not to pursue it, then it should not be going any further. Thank you.
Shouldn't have any problem.
I have it in writing.
Gary, one last thing.
Gary Patterson, I'll be very quick. Basically, in the minutes tonight, that give a summary of John Vanderberg's speech the last month, and he says in here, the board takes seriously the number of amounts of issues and problems regarding payroll that need resolved. He stated they have uncovered mountains of errors and problems resulting from the sheriff's office changing to 10-hour shifts, which nobody argue about that because we all know the contract wasn't followed and there wasn't a side letter written. But he's saying we have mountains of errors, and towards the bottom he says the fact is there is no electronic timekeeping methods are also not ideal. And I know some of us have been wanting electronic timekeeping, and I'm talking about department heads and myself have wanted one for at least a year and a half of one electronic timekeeping. And both of our auditors have said that to us in the last 3 months, have mentioned timekeeping. I talked to a lot of businesses that went to outside companies just to keep track of time, benefit times, keep ahead of rules, keep ahead of laws, and there are companies that did it just to be compliant.
One quick question, Tim. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
One more quick one. Can I ask what the motivation is entirely for this Paylocity then? What is the true motivation? Is there savings? Is there more control? I never have understood what the real point is of
Timekeeping.
timekeeping. You do it now with this account you got now, don't you?
Do we have timekeeping?
You can have it. They just
Do we have timekeeping?
I have since 2018.
All right, let's move forward.
It happened because of the union contract. 2018.
That's enough.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
We're going to
Can we call the question?
call the question. Thank you. We have a properly made motion to rescind the hiring of Paylocity. We had it seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Can we do a roll call?
You can do a roll call.
Is the vote to rescind?
This is vote, a yes is to rescind it, a no is to leave it as is. Or do no action, I guess, is technically what it would be. So,
Kenny Barr,
No.
Barbara Bennett,
No.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bain,
No.
Paul Candidate,
yes.
Brian Kaufman,
No.
Dennis Cernovich,
No.
Jesse Durbin,
No.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Gary Gergany,
Yes.
Larry Lenz,
No.
Robert Orman,
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
No.
Derek Piercy,
Yes.
John Poe,
Yes.
Robert Simpson,
No.
Jeff Slifer,
No.
David Switz,
No.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
No.
Motion to rescind fails, 8 ayes to 12 nays. Because the yeses would have been to rescind.
Yep. All right, moving on to 12. David Switz, discussion and vote on appointment of county official to assist Paylocity with implementation of payroll system.
I can explain that if you want, David.
Yeah, go ahead.
We believe the proposed contract will be prepared at the next board meeting in December, but Paylocity is going to have assistance from an office holder with obtaining records of records, documents, and reports. I don't want to throw Jessica under the bus, but logically, the best person may be Jessica because she's the record keeper of the county. The only other logical choice would be the treasurer, and the board has the authority to impose additional duties, powers, or functions upon county officers pursuant to 55 ILCS 5/5-1087. So if the board does want to pursue Paylocity, they do need to start implementing things to finalize their contract to be presented in December. And it's left blank, if this motion does pass, who would be directed to assist.
Can I speak to that? I would just like to speak to the fact that Andrew from Paylocity reached out to the county clerk's office. The county clerk does not have the records that Paylocity is requesting. I don't have access to those records short of walking down to the treasurer's office and asking for them. As an elected official, I don't want to be put in this situation from removing a job from another elected official. I don't think that's fair to the office of the county clerk and recorder to put me in that position. So I would just ask that, you know, I hope you understand. It's like I said, I don't have the records. So I don't know how I'm supposed to get them if I don't have access to them. And it's a bad situation, and I would rather not be placed in the middle of it. So thank you.
Can I speak to the elected official? Because one thing that I know was asked for was a blank check, a voided check with access to our bank accounts with no contract, our employee records with no contract, social security numbers, whatever. I was elected by the people of this county, 6,600 people, to be the safety for the county funds. I will have no part of this. My duties, I've been thrown under the bus tonight, said that my office isn't processing payroll correctly. That is not true. When timesheets are not added correctly, I've never altered nor underpaid an employee. Julie said she has a timesheet where an employee was underpaid. My office looks at log in, log out, and we pay. And you cannot look at me, and that's fine. But what is going on in this room tonight is unbelievable. I was elected, you're trying to strip me of my elected duties, and you are disenfranchising the people in this county who elected me to be the safekeeper. Not one accusation proven, investigated, and proven has shown me to do any wrong with payroll. I've tried everything I can to follow contracts. I've asked, let them grieve. Every time that something's pointed out that we're not following a contract, oh, grievance, and we go with, we don't protect taxpayers. We're scared of grievance. Let them grieve, let it go to court, and let the judge decide.
Costs money to do that.
The payroll fraud costs money too. $4.4 million is exactly what John Vanderberg said. And when the Department of Labor comes in and we've not followed contract, we have not followed state law, just like if you're not covered under a contract, you have to pay up to 40 hours, and we are comping between 35 and 40 hours, contrary to law. The Department of Labor can come in and fine us, I mean, astronomical. I had a conversation with John Vanderberg today, and he said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Because, and the findings in the audit are we are not following law. It said law or contracts. I've begged. I've asked Mr. Patterson for timekeeping since December of 18 when I took office. Sat in a budget committee meeting and was point blank told that the union would not agree to timekeeping unless they opened up the contract. That contract, I begged for it. Our computer system, we can do it. Was told unions wouldn't agree. We passed a new union contract and there's still no language in there for electronic timekeeping. So to sit there and accuse my office or me personally of not, I've begged and pleaded. Because our timesheets, when A plus B doesn't equal C, and so I change C, I don't change the log in, log out time, but when the total column doesn't equal the actual hours worked, I pay on the actual hours worked. And I've sent it back to department heads and I've asked for correction and I get no response. I have to have a file to the bank by a certain amount of time so that our employees get paid. I have sent back timesheets where employees are underpaid, and I've sent back where it's overpaid and said, I'm paying on, which I think our payroll policy speaks to, I'm not required to pay based on the total column. I am required to pay on the log in, log out, this is the total hours. Paylocity isn't going to look at that. They're going to pay based on the total because that's what they're hired to do. Here's the total, write the check and be done.
All right.
And you also cannot separate.
That's enough. No, that's enough. That's enough. Public body, you've stood up for yourself. You've stood up for yourself.
I have one more thing to say, Brian, because it affects this greatly. You cannot separate HR from payroll. And I spoke with Julie. Every single payroll we process affects 7 funds, 20 offices, or 20, what was it, Julie? And 56 offices. Accounts. 20 offices, 56 accounts. Is Paylocity going to do that? This isn't a matter of you take the money out of the general fund and everything's done. We have voluntary insurances in this county, and there's no one employee that has the exact same deductions. Is Paylocity going to do that? Are we going to open up all of our funds to Paylocity so that they can take it out of those funds and pay payroll?
Point of order.
I think not.
Derek?
I'm going to try to simplify this. I need a statute that grants explicit authority to either a county or a treasurer to outsource payroll. Does anybody have that statute?
The statute is 55 ILCS 5/5-1005-16, which says the county has the power to install an adequate system of accounts and financial records in the offices and divisions of the county suitable to the needs of the office and in accordance with generally accepted principles of accounting for governmental bodies, which systems may include such reports as the county board may determine. It's not a statutory duty of the treasurer to monitor payroll or act as HR. That was something the board decided to do 2 years ago, I guess. Normally, a county has a county auditor, and their statutory duties are to maintain a continuous internal audit of the operations and financial records of the officers, agents, or divisions of the county. The county auditor shall have access to all records, documents, and resources necessary for the discharge of this responsibility. Since we don't have an auditor, the treasurer was appointed to handle HR. That's not a part of her statutory duty.
Just to clarify, that said installed in the offices of, correct?
Pardon me?
That said installed in the offices of, the phrase, towards the beginning.
To install an adequate system of accounts and financial records in the offices and divisions of the county.
Yeah, we have an adequate system of accounts and financial records now that we've taken on that new system.
It's a decision for the board that you can keep the system you have now. You could hire a county auditor if you wanted to, or the other option is the system of accounts would be Paylocity. That's the third recommendation. So that's what it was up for the board to decide.
That's a whole other firm handling a process and a duty. That's not a system. I mean, it is a system, but it's not within the office, within a treasurer's office, clerk's office, an office of the county. It's in its own office. who knows where it's at, but I don't see where to install an adequate system of accounts and financial records in the office and divisions of the county constitutes rendering out third-party services.
Do we have a motion to appoint a county official or someone? Who is the official?
It has to be the treasurer.
Can't hear you. We can't hear you.
I said it has to be the Treasurer's Department.
Yeah.
No, I want to speak up so you can hear me, John. Okay,
Would
thanks.
you put that in a motion, please?
I move to have the Treasurer's Department in this resolution.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Now, any further discussion? Should have had that before we really discussed.
Yes, right.
I've got more discussion available if there is any. Kenny,
Yeah, second, you need a second?
we got a second.
Okay.
Can you repeat what the motion is?
The motion is to have the treasurer in her office basically assist Paylocity with the implementation of the payroll system with the records that they need to get it started.
No.
The resolution, you want me to read the whole resolution?
No.
I mean, I can read it.
I would like to make a motion that we table until we get a legal opinion in writing before we do anything. We're talking about hiring, we don't know what's going to cost, we don't know whether it's legal. We've got opinions both ways. I think we need to get somebody that can give us an honest answer and something we can hang our hat on other than all these back and forth.
I'll second that if we can take the motion.
You got a second?
There's
Any discussion on the tabling?
There's too much in the air here that has not been answered. I think we're looking at spending a lot of money, and I agree. I think it's just going to be somebody that's going to send us write these checks for this amount, and we're not going to have what the auditor's telling us we need to have, and we're not even following our own policy for the board. I hounded on that for a long time. Nobody seems to want to obey the law and follow that. And I think we need to start following the law and having some hard, solid, legal answers. And you can twist it any way you want, and we're doing that.
I don't want to take your time away. I had hands over here. I'm just making sure I know. David?
So he says we don't know what it costs. We know exactly what it costs. And then he says we're going to spend a lot of money. So what is it? Do you not know, or is it a lot of money?
I don't know.
You do know. You were here.
That's being spent.
You were here. You watched the presentation. You got the paperwork. I don't know how you don't know. It's a little over $15,000. How do you not know that?
When was that we did that?
It's over 15, not.
I said it's a little over $15,000. I can't remember the exact number. I
Easy,
don't have
guys.
the paper.
Let's keep it down.
But
Keep
it
it
was
down.
here. There's a 10 or 15-minute presentation on it. You all watched it. You do know.
But it's in conflict with our board policy.
$15,237. You all got it.
Everybody was on the board at that time, got it.
Is that just a flat fee, or is that?
No, it's per person.
It's done by per person, it's for the whole county.
But annually, or?
Yes, annually.
And it's higher the first year because there's some implementation fees like the time.
Okay, we got off base here. This is discussion on tabling the motion. Well, then we had another one that was made to table it.
Oh, okay.
So, any discussion on tabling? All those in favor of tabling said motion?
Just do roll call.
Roll call? We do roll call.
No.
Yes means it's being tabled till next month or until it's untabled. No means we're going to continue with discussion of the original motion. Sorry if I
Kenny Barr.
got close to you.
Barbara Bennett. Mark Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
No.
Paul Candidate.
Yes.
Brian Kaufman.
No.
Dennis Sturdivich.
No.
Jesse Durbin.
No.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Gary Gergany,
Yes.
Larry Lenz,
No.
Robert Orman,
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
No.
Derek Piercy,
Yes.
John Poe,
Sure.
Robert Simpson,
No.
Jeff Slifer,
No.
David Switz,
No.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
No.
Motion to table fails, 8 yes, 12 no.
So we're back to the original motion made by David to appoint the treasurer as the assistant to Paylocity in implementing the payroll system. Any other further discussion on that? Gary?
Gary Patterson. I just have a couple of comments. First of all, I see this as being a working together. Nobody's completely replacing anybody else. The second thing, I think in February or March of 2020, when I was on the budget committee, I went to the treasurer's office. I was showed that our old computer system should have the ability to electronic timekeeping. At least 4 department heads told me they wanted to be on electronic timekeeping. One union rep is all I talked to, but he said he was in favor of electronic timekeeping. He hadn't took a vote, but he mentioned it to his members. And so I asked, I was told that it was probably in there, and it was just a case of running the test run, but it should be in there. I was told then a few minutes later that no, we weren't going to electronic timekeeping because the union said it was illegal. And then I have tried twice since then to get electronic timekeeping. The last time was last year when we were looking at CIC, and I just asked what kind of electronic timekeeping is in this system. I don't know if we do or don't have electronic timekeeping in our system. Never got an answer.
Any other discussion? We want a roll call vote on this also? So a yes is to, is for the treasurer to assist Paylocity. A no is to not have, appoint anybody. All right.
Well, I think you're going to have to appoint somebody.
As far as this motion.
Okay. I'm with you.
Okay. Damn, I question myself there for a second.
Kenny Barr,
Yes.
Barbara Bennett,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
No.
Teresa Bank,
Yes.
Paul Canaday,
No.
Brian Kaufman,
Yes.
Dennis Sternovich,
Yes.
Jesse Durbin,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
No.
Gary Gergany,
No.
Larry Lenz,
Yes.
Robert Orman,
No.
Gary Patterson,
Yes.
Derek Piercy,
Nope.
John Poe,
No.
Robert Simpson,
Yes.
Jeff Slifer,
Yes.
David Switz,
Yes.
Don Tate,
No.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries 12 yes, 8 no. Mark Bennett, Paul Canaday, Julie Edwards, Gary Gergany, Robert Orman, Derek Piercy, John Pogue, and Don Tate.
All right, moving on to number 13. Derek, rescind board action from the October 22nd special board meeting.
Yeah, in light of some new information, which Jessica can expand on a little bit, it's a long one. I'm going to make a motion to rescind the board action from October 22nd special board meeting on the board size based on Senate Bill 536 with a new deadline for reapportionment December 31st with discussion vote on county board reapportionment with 5 districts, 3 members per district. If I can get a second.
Second motion.
Got a second? Motion's made, properly seconded. Any discussion?
Is this what you're proposing?
left side there.
Yeah, but what's in these box colored boxes here?
That's the numbers on the left there.
You add up the numbers that's in these boxes right here, and they're not the same as they are
We
over
vote
here.
on one, didn't we?
Yeah.
They only add up over here, not what's in the boxes.
Oh, some of the boxes, some of the block groups are smaller than what you can see on that.
Why isn't that on here?
Yeah, well, that's why I put it on the left side.
It'd be nice to be some kind of key and see where they actually went, or where they're at.
Yeah, well, that's from the actual census data there.
And I understand that, but it's pretty misleading looking at it. I don't trust your numbers, because I don't know where they're coming from.
Well, in either case, and she explained too, the redrawing of the maps, it doesn't have to necessarily be based on that, if I'm understanding what she said correctly too. They're gonna have to create a new map from it, but,
That's correct.
yeah, okay.
So that's irregardless.
Well, that was the original thing, before I found out from her what they were saying, but it's the same thing. You just take the total amount and it just divides out by 5.
So what's it gonna cost us to have another map made?
You can talk to her on that one. I'm not sure what the total is.
They're $80,000.
But, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's gonna cost an additional $5,000 for them to redraw a map with 5 districts, 3 members per district. That would come out of GIS funds. However, it's also going to probably cost another $5,000 out of the county clerk's general fund budget for the elections vendor to recode all of the registered voters in Shelby County to go to 5 districts with 3 members per district. Because there will be some minor coding changes with what Bruce Harris has currently done, but if they start again, then every voter would have to be recoded, because all of the county board districts would change.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we've already spent $8,000
Yes.
for the maps that we're already got.
You spent $8,000 based on your decision from October 22nd.
Any further discussion?
I ask for a no vote.
I had a couple other things. One of the things I have is the committee meeting minutes from October 4th, where the executive committee voted unanimously to reduce the board. And that included Mr. Patterson and Mr. Switz, I believe, too. I don't know what changed since that, I guess, but one of the other questions that I kind of come up with too, Mr. Patterson, you said something about that there was counties that regretted reducing the board size. Who did you talk to?
I'm on the WCDC board, and there's 6 counties counting us, so there's 5 other counties. They're all the way from here to the Mississippi River. I know Montgomery, Morgan. Scott was one. I don't have that information with me, but if you look up WCDC, they're basically all connected. If you skip over Christian County, then all the rest of them are just straight west. It centers at Carlinville. But there's 5 other county boards that come to that, and the ones who had reduced their board sizes said they're not getting their work done. It's their biggest problem.
So I have a follow-up question on that. Their board size won't change until next year, so how would they have issues with
No, they already did it. They didn't just do it.
They did it 10 years ago.
They did it 10 years ago, and they've been running smaller, and they said, we would like to go back larger because we're not getting our work done. No, they already are that size.
So this is from 10 years ago?
Yes, they voted 10 years ago, and they've been running small, and these are the people who are currently on the board, and they're saying, we went too small. No, they said they couldn't get, basically the only way you can get it back big is to go to referendum.
The only...
And the taxpayers don't see a need for more, but he said us people that's on the board do, because we're not getting our job done. So he said, therefore, we're having other people do part of our work because we can't do it all.
So the only 2, I think you mentioned one of them anyway, Macon and Montgomery, out of, this is all FOIA requests from 20-something counties around here on their resolutions. The only boards that reduced here out of these were Macon and Montgomery. They both had 21. They went to 15 and 14. They both had the same issue that Shelby County has, where we've had 6% population loss. Those counties both reduced as well.
But they haven't started yet, they're just.
Right, that's not going to be until next year, so, you know, we lost 6%, 1,400 people here too, and there's nothing to say that that doesn't continue, so the problems that everybody in this room is going to have to deal with is your tax base is shrinking, your expenses are increasing. This is one way that you could save taxpayers money. My question is, why in the world would you not want to do that? And I kind of want to know from the people that don't want to reduce this and save taxpayers money, kind of what the reasons are for that. I mean, I think I know the reasons why, but I'd like to hear from everybody why
The
they're
ones
not.
I've talked to, they reduced them, they raised the pay, and they asked me more often on a basis so it didn't save them any money.
Mark?
To try to put some numbers together, Gary, you said that they went from a larger group to a smaller group in which they wanted to go back. So approximately what size were they to start with?
Oh, no, I don't know.
What have they went down to? In other words, I'm saying that, yes, it could be too small a group, you can get it clear down to 5, I can understand that. We're talking about going back to a larger group. That larger group may not be 22.
Oh, no, it won't be, they're little counties.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is, so they went down to 5 and say they want to go back to 11, want to go back to 13, whatever. It's not just a fact of, we want to get back to a larger number, it's more of, where is that number at? We're at 22, we have a lot. Yeah, I can understand 5. Did they go that small and then decide to come back?
They were 3, 5, and 7, I think, and they were telling the ones that went to 15, I think you'll find out you made a mistake with how the discussion started. It didn't start with me. And at the meeting he referred to, I said 17 or 18 I would have been in favor of. I wanted to address this last May, June, and July, and it was sent to a committee, and no recommendation ever came forward. So now I feel like we're too late. It's the reason I'm not willing for 17 or 18 now. 2 months ago, I would have been. If anything, if we stub our toes here in any way now, then we lose control of our board size. It's not our choice anymore.
Any other discussion?
I have one final point I wanted to make too. Coles County, next door here, they lost 13%. They stayed at 12 people. There's 46,000 population there. There are 12 members. Cook County, 5 million people, have 17 board members. The ones that were in, I'm pretty sure we can do a little bit better than that. I think we can keep up with them. The ones that were at 21 all reduced to 14 to 15. Every other county seems to be able to do this. Why can everybody in this room not pull this off? I think we can do that.
David?
If you're gonna use Cook County as the point, did you call the board members and ask them what else they do?
What else they do?
Yeah.
I'm sure they do a lot more there. I'm sure they're paid a lot more too. But
They're a full-time employee for the county. They're full-time.
they do it 17.
They're still full-time, every day, all day. I do a lot for myself too, over a lot of hours.
So
I can't do that.
You'd have less.
So this is not a full-time job for me. I don't get paid for that.
All right. Mark, you had your hand up. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Just, along with what Gary says, I understand some of them went back up. But I think that the number they wanted to go back up to, we're still above that. So somewhere in between, to me, is somewhere we need to be.
No, they wanted to go up, but they said they had no way to get there because it has to go to referendum, the taxpayers won't vote
But
for
if
it.
they could, they're not talking about going to 24.
Oh, no.
They're talking about somewhere in between.
Their
And I
county's
think
half the
that's
size of us.
between what we have talked about in the executive committee and what Gary was talking about, it's somewhere in between. I just want everybody to take open mind that we don't have to go to the maximum.
Right. A lot of them counties are smaller counties geographically than this one too. This one's spread out, so it takes people from all the area.
Any other discussion? Jeff?
What's your good hard numbers on our savings? Because I don't see where it's a huge dollar saver.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think our, what we paid board members was 55,000 last year, which would be 2,500 a person. And if you went from 22 to 15,
You do realize,
yeah,
you do realize that there's committees that's gotta be covered. That money you just don't
Yeah,
save
and
it.
I think you'd have to.
You've got them committee appointments, you're gonna pay for.
Yeah, and I think if
So your savings on that part is irrelevant.
you consolidate.
Basically, the only thing you're gonna save is the county board meetings, monthly meetings. Correct?
No, you can consolidate some of the other stuff. So if you only save.
As it currently is.
You
You got a year to do that.
Any other discussion?
This is all solvable, it really is. Reduce the board to 15, cut your committees to about 12 or 13. I think there's 5 or 6 of them that are completely useless or should be combined in with others. To the point of the professional board member, in this county, there needs to be, in my opinion, one professional board member, and that's a chairman, as at least a part-time position, because the duties that have been called on by me when I was chair, I could sit in this courthouse 3 days a week and have 7 hours worth of work every day. So there is a degree of change that needs to happen. The board reduces, you start professionalizing one spot, and you start moving forward. I had something else on the tip of my tongue, but I've lost it now, but 22 board members is chaotic.
Yes.
In response to Mr. Simpson's comment about the diversity and the size of this county, we still have the whole county covered with districts, and there's 3 members per district, so there's plenty of ability for people to contact their board member to express their opinion on whatever subject is about to be voted on by the county board.
Any further discussion? Roll call. If you vote yes, you're rescinding the action of the special board meeting on October 22nd. No means,
How are you going to vote?
pardon?
Well, they're talking about how to vote.
I did not hear it. Sorry, I was speaking.
They're discussing how to vote.
Been going on all night.
I didn't
So,
know what was going on here.
like I said, yes means you're rescinding the action of the October 22nd special meeting. No means it does not pass.
Kenny Barr,
No.
Barbara Bennett,
No.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bang,
No.
Paul Kennedy,
Yes.
Brian Kaufman,
No.
Dennis Sturdivich,
No.
Jesse Durbin,
No.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Gary Gergany,
Yes.
Larry Lynn,
No.
Robert Orman,
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
No.
Derek Piercy,
Yes.
John Poe,
Yes.
Robert Simpson,
No.
Jeff Slifer, David Switz,
No.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
No.
Motion to rescind fails, 12 noes to 8 yeses.
Oh, that talk.
All right, moving on to 14, discussion and vote on reapportionment and compensation. Resolution for Shelby County Board, 11 districts, 2 members per. Everybody, I assume, had this in their packet, or their email packet. Do I need to read this? This resolution. Basically, it's setting the pay at $60 for a regular board meeting, plus mileage, $45 for committee meetings plus mileage, and $45 for a special county board meeting plus mileage. And the chairman should get $70 for a scheduled board meeting with mileage, and then the other 2 are the same as the rest of the board.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to accept the resolution for the reapportionment and compensation? Is there a second?
Yeah.
Any discussion?
No.
Kenny? No?
Give a second, 2 seconds.
Teresa?
Okay. That was my other point, when we was talking about the resizing. If the board actually followed the resolution, I think we cut funds, or cut our funding needs by a substantial amount. Because I did the math in a budget committee meeting, and it was somewhere around $27,000 or $30,000 is what 22 members times 12, and then I figured the 17 committees times 4 members. I just kind of went through some rough math, and it was right around $30,000, and our budget says somewhere around 60. So that was kind of to the point of cost savings. If we have 15 members, then following this exactly to the T, we should save a substantial amount of money.
Any further discussion on the resolution? So technically, is this spending money?
Yes.
I'm going to say, I thought it was. We'll do a roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes means you're for the resolution and the compensation and the board's compensation and 11, reapportionment and compensation.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Mark Bennett.
No.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Paul Candidate.
No.
Brian Kaufman.
Yes.
Dennis Jernovich.
Yes.
Jesse Durbin.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
No.
Gary Gergany.
No.
Larry Lenz.
Yes.
Robert Orman.
No.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Terry Piercy.
No.
John Poe.
No.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Jeff Slifer.
Yes.
David Switz.
Yes.
Don Tate.
No.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 12 yes, 8 no, with Mark Bennett, Paul Candidate, Julie Edwards, Gary Gergany, Robert Orman, Derek Piercy, John Pogue, and Don Tate voting against.
All right, Don, Public Buildings Chair, discussion and vote on the Cone Care contract to replace elevator car doors and operating systems.
I move that we authorize the board chair and the sheriff to sign the contract that I believe all of you have seen to have the elevator in the courthouse repaired based on what it says in the contract.
I have a motion. Yeah, I have a motion. Is there a second? Gary? Is this the system that Sheriff McQueen brought up that we were using the extra? Is this, I just wanted to make sure in my head that was the same
Coney
thing.
Company is who operates or does our repair on the elevator now.
Okay,
And by going with Coney Company and this Omni Partners, we are saving 10%
okay.
of the cost of what Coney said it would take to repair, to fix the elevator so we don't have issues with it. The Omni Partner system with Coney basically acts just like the state bid on automobiles or other things. That's basically what Omni Partners does, is works with agencies to get their best bid. So by doing this, we avoid hiring an engineer to say what it takes to fix the elevator. We avoid going out for bids to get the elevator repaired, and then we save time in getting the job done.
I just wanted to make sure it was the same thing that we voted on a couple of meetings ago or last meeting. Any discussion? This will be a roll call vote because we are spending money. Yes means we'll accept the contract. No means you're not for the contract.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Mark Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Paul Candidate.
Yes.
Brian Kaufman.
Yes.
Dennis Turtovich.
Yes.
Jesse Durbin.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yeah.
Robert Orman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
John Pogue.
No.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Jeff Slifer.
Yes.
David Switz.
Yes.
Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 19 yes, 1 nay, Pogue.
Okay. Don, you're up again, authorization to change the window grant.
Right. We have, the State Historic Society says you don't need to replace these windows. They're too good a shape. So we talked, when Sheriff McQueen was with us, he contacted the grantor, and the grant people said we could renegotiate the terms of the grant to where we do historic repair to the windows. And so therefore I make a motion that we change this, we recommend to change the scope of the grant to historic repair, and to authorize the Public Building Committee to go out and try to obtain estimates on what it will cost to repair the windows.
Is there a second?
Second.
Paul got it. Any discussion?
Basically, the historic people give us a list of a number of different firms that do historic repair. I've talked with 3 of them. One of them was from Kansas City. Based on the size of the grant and the money we have to spend, they weren't interested. I talked to a firm out of Bradley, Illinois, that the guy remembered being here and looking at the windows in times past, but he doesn't, his firm would want us to hire someone else local to do most of the work, which I wasn't very much in favor of. There's another firm out of DeKalb that will make repairs, will come and do the work, remove the things here. They are able to, if funds provide, do a historic repair of the window, but put in energy efficient glass and things like that, or storm windows, inside storm windows, things that the courthouse needs to make our geothermal heating and air conditioning system work better. So that's why I say we need to proceed this way. I think we have until 23 or something like that to use the grant, so we need to get to working on this.
Guys? Kenny? Lynn? I have full faith in the committee to make the right choices. Any other discussion? This needs to be, we're not spending money on this one, so we can just do an aye vote here. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. All right, Gary, discussion, vote on the special audit of the sheriff's accounts due to the retirement of Sheriff Coons and Sheriff McQueen.
Got a note, or email the other day from the courthouse here stating that upon the resignation of Don Coons, we had 180 days to have an independent audit of across the board. It states it's got to be an independent, freestanding. We can't use any of the other audits. It's got to be done. And we're down to, what was it, 50-some days, I think it was, and that we're going to be in violation of the statute, state of Illinois. That statute, everybody got it in their packet. It's very plain that you've got 180 days to get this done. I guess we can vote to disobey follow the law that's, the statute for the state of Illinois. And since then, of course, Sean has left, so now we have two of them to do, even though Sean was here for a very short time. But the law, the statute is very plain, that it has to be complete.
Yes, ma'am.
Gary, I know by law we have to do this. Do you have any idea what another audit would be for this cost?
I haven't looked into it. I'm just telling you, I'm on Chairman of the Finance Committee, and it was sent to me saying that this has to be taken care of. I don't think it matters when it says it has to be done. I think that's what I want. And I talked to the sheriff, and he said he would like to see it done.
I'm not debating that, but I just thought that because we've had so many audits, we could come up with a price or something.
But that doesn't give us the right to throw it out because we decided we've had too many audits.
Nobody said throwing it out.
No, you didn't say that.
I didn't say throw it out.
What else you gonna do with it?
All he asked was for price, Gary.
No, I don't.
He didn't say anything whether he was for or against the audit. All he asked was if you had any idea what the cost would be to the county. That's all he asked.
Whatever it costs. We need to get a hold of an auditor. I'm not set up to get that audit on it. I think it needs to be a board decision. Why go out and get a price if
can we get a motion?
We're not doing it.
Continue discussion.
Make a motion, Gary.
I make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. And just thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
So there's a handful of accounts in the sheriff's department that needs to be audited. I'm not going to make, I know what it was. So basically what we're saying is here, we have the statute that requires us to audit the department. We send out a request for proposal, and then in those requests, we can start ironing down. Jessica, do you recall, does the request have estimates in them?
The request for proposal that I had help drafting for the county auditor just pertained to auditing standards, etc. So that was for a county audit. I actually spoke to 3 other counties whose sheriffs had retired midterm, and none of them, of course, not that you can go by what other counties do, but none of the counties had done that. Bruce from Melweather, who's managing the county's ARPA fund, said they also hadn't done this. And the way the statute reads, it looks like any time a county official leaves, whether it's appointed or elected, the statute should be done. Why it hasn't been in the past, I can't answer that. But it also says, the statute says public funds of the county. So I don't know that the sheriff's special funds in terms of commissary, et cetera, would fall under public funds because those funds actually, I don't know, Nicole, you could speak to that better than myself, but the statute does say public funds of the county.
There are no cases on the statute because I honestly don't think anybody's following the statute. It's been it was enacted in 1990, but I don't think the sheriff probably objects to those accounts being audited. But to save the county money, I would like to make one point that the statute reads, in addition to any other audit required by this division, the county board shall cause an audit. They're referring to the annual audit, so it's in addition to the annual audit required by this division, the county shall cause an audit. We have caused a forensic audit that covered most of Don Coombs' term. So as an option, you could extend that audit to include the time frame that has not yet been audited or any accounts that have not been audited, and also for the time frame that Sean McQueen was sheriff. That would be cheaper because we have done an additional audit already in addition to what is required being the annual audit.
Gary?
Our forensic audit is payroll. There's a lot of other directions.
Well, you can expand it, but you shouldn't have to repeat that portion of it. That's going to be $40,000-$50,000 they are charging, I think. You should not have to repeat that portion of it.
I would guess 10% of that.
It says,
5,000.
it says an audit in addition to that required by this division, and what this division requires is the annual audit.
And maybe we could hire the forensic auditor to go ahead and meet the requirements of the law, and he can just
That's what
simply
she said.
verify that
That's what she's
information.
saying.
Yeah, I would think that'd be okay as long as it's separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, covers everything else.
But there are no cases that define what public funds are, because I don't believe most counties are following the statute. There's no cases on it.
I think all funds are public
So-
funds.
But I don't think there would be an objection to all the funds being audited.
Well, and let's say for the new sheriff starting up, he knows what all the balances are. He could be helped later on because something was done before he got here. I would want to know where I stand on starting the job. And when I talked to him, he said he found that would be encouraging. He would like to know where everything stands because we've had issues. I'm done.
You trick me every once in a while. You got to pause in your dialect sometimes. Mark?
Even at the township level, been through this many times. Anytime a supervisor resigns, the books have to be audited. Every time, midterm, at any time they take, we've had the same thing happen there, and most townships can't hardly afford it either.
We need to have an audit on the sheriff's department after Coons, Queen, and the highway department.
Gary?
I guess my question is, are we looking at auditing every dollar that goes through the sheriff's department or just certain accounts? What does this cover?
We're going to
I
have.
have no idea.
I mean, does it
It
cover?
just reads public funds, and there are no cases that define what public funds are.
How you gonna know what you're gonna hire a person to do if you don't know what they're gonna audit?
Jeff?
These funds you're talking about, there is 4 accounts in the sheriff's department. I did ask about them last LEC meeting. I talked to Tina previously. She explained what they was for. I don't have a problem with them. And from here on out, the LEC meetings, we're going to take a look at the statement for each count, each month. Because beforehand, I had no clue that we had them. So there's nothing getting hid here at all in them 4 accounts. And most of it's for prisoner money. It's their own money.
Any other discussion? Is this a vote to spend money or just to, it's not spending money yet, it's just looking into firms?
We need to get the best.
Yeah, is that what this is doing? Just you're gonna go get ideas? So we can do a voice vote here. Okay. All those in favor of an audit, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Motion passed. You got another one there, Gary, on the bottom. Vote to send request for proposal to begin search for a new county auditor.
What's that now?
At the very end of number 17, there's another one, that discussion and vote to send request for proposal to begin search for a new county auditor. Is that you doing that, or I can propose that, because we do need to start that process, because it is very imperative we start it.
Okay.
I'll make that motion that we.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. I'll just take this real quick. We do need to get a new auditor. Our auditor did not want to continue the contract. We need to start the search. We need to send out the, whatever that little.
The RFP.
Yeah, I'm not good with acronyms, so RFP. To try to hire a new auditor. Any discussion? We got a properly seconded motion to start the process. Any discussion?
I have some discussion.
I'm not going to allow you.
You guys need to set, I've looked for some area auditors. I have a list of about 10 that I sent to Nicole. You need to set a deadline of when you would want their proposals back by, and then you would have to schedule a meeting to open and review those. But we are behind the 8 ball with this getting a county auditor.
Well, we can't really do a deadline on this because it's not in the scope of the motion.
Well, that's true, but I'm just saying,
Yeah, I understand what you're
in the
saying.
discussion.
We are in a,
Right, yeah.
again,
Right.
this county is in a
Yes.
time crunch for doing something, and we need to move forward.
And what does they discuss and vote so we can vote on it? At the end of 17.
That's just to get a new search for a county
To
auditor.
just
That's
send the
to get
RFP.
that doesn't allow you to, well, if you want to amend the motion to,
Well, obviously, that'd be part of the request, putting a date when it's due. Thank you.
Don?
I would agree with what Gary said. Look at the way the scope of the item says. We could put, say that we want a response back by December 31 or something like that, to where we could review them on at the January meeting. I mean, that's as soon as I think we could review it.
So we're good with that. Okay. So if somebody would like to amend, or would you like to retract your motion and then make a new motion, putting in a date and a time?
I'll retract my motion if Glenn will second it or approve it.
Will you allow him to retract?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes.
So now can we get a new motion made?
That we send out an RMP or whatever the
RFP.
acronym was, that we, looking for a county auditor, and that we request their response back by December 31, so that, of 2021, so we can just try to get them hired maybe in January.
I second that.
We got a motion, a second. Any discussion? David?
Is there any rules about auditors that we can hire that we've had to do other work? We can or cannot?
I cannot.
hear that.
Is there any rules that we can hire an auditor that's already done past work, or is there any rules against or for that? Or?
You can hire whatever auditor you want from year to year.
My only question on that is that date too far out? Should we try to have it a little sooner so we can maybe take action on it at the December meeting, if they can come up with something that quick?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm asking a
I don't know
question.
either. What,
Yeah.
I figured it's going to take somebody a while to figure out whether they want to do the job.
Well,
That's only 6 weeks, and there's 2 holidays in there, so
Yeah.
December 31st is going to come pretty quick.
okay. I just throwing out something.
Well, I agree, I'd like to see it earlier, but
Any other discussion?
think they'll do it earlier.
So we got a properly made motion that was seconded to send out the RFP for an audit, new auditor, with a deadline of having their proposals to us by December 31st of 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. County Highway Report. Since we do not have a new engineer hired yet, I guess I will give this report as the chairman of the committee. We've got a resolution requesting approval to appropriate motor fuel tax funds for the purpose of maintaining the county highways. This is every year we go through this. Somebody like to make a motion?
I moved.
In a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. I do have one update. The bridge that is out by IHI Turbo is completed, but we've come into an issue that after a bridge has been constructed, prior to opening the road to traffic, an initial bridge inspection is required. A certified program manager is required to perform the initial bridge inspection. Unfortunately, at this time, due to Alan's retirement, we do not have a program manager. So that bridge cannot be opened until it is inspected by a program manager. Reed, who is our technician out there, has contacted IDOT Bridge Office, and they have informed us that we can get an engineer, a county engineer from a surrounding county who is a certified program manager to help complete this initial bridge inspection. And we are currently trying to get the speaking with Cliff Fry of Christian County to try to get that inspection done, but until that inspection is done, the bridge cannot be opened. So that's the only update I've got out of all that. Moving on. Jessica, request to move polling places. I'll let you take that real quick.
I'm requesting, since the primary that's normally in March was moved to June 22nd, or June 28th, 2022, Todd's Point and Oka polling place is literally set about a block apart in the village of Findlay. Todd's Point doesn't have air conditioning, so I've asked the village of Findlay if we could utilize the Findlay Community Center as a polling place for the 2022 elections for both Oka and Todd's Point, and they have happily agreed to let us do that. So I am requesting this move for the 2022 elections for Todd's Point and Oka.
Second, Bob. Any discussion?
Is this permanent or just for this election?
Just right now, I'm not going to commit to that one way or another, but for the 2022 elections, yes.
Primary only?
Primary in November, yep.
For all elections?
Yep.
All of
Yep.
2022 elections?
Paul?
This is a huge improvement. This is a huge improvement in this area.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, committee reports. Anybody have, any committee chairman have an update? Paul, Don?
In the bills that we will be approving payment for later today or this evening was a bill for the product to replace all the carpeting in the courthouse, in Courtroom A, the library, the jury room, the judge's chamber. So that project that we've been working on for 6 or 8 months is finally going to happen.
Thank you, Don. Lynn?
Dive team will be, next week, we'll be out on Lake Shelbyville doing training. And this week, the rescue squad will be cutting cars up for training. So just let you know.
Any other? Gary?
Real quick, one sentence. I just want to emphasize what's came up several times tonight, that we really need to add new deputies, and the main focus of our meeting this month at the LEC was to just come up with ideas that basically will help us. Basically, we need some new recruits and we need some lateral recruits to get our system up and going again. And like they said, most of our people went down to Effingham, so they basically, none of them had moved. They're just going to drive a few miles farther, and the rest of them went down to the corner here to the city of Shelbyville, and so far everybody we've lost went a very short distance. So we need to do the same thing. We need to recruit people back in, and so we went over ideas. Brian, the new sheriff, has lots of good ideas, and what we passed tonight will get it going.
Any other chairman updates? I've got one on the road and bridge. We are going to start second round of interviews here pretty quick. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully by next meeting we can have a name brought to the county board. Anybody else on a committee update? Chairman appointments, Ramiro Estrada, 911 ETSB for a 1-year term.
I'll make a motion, we appoint Ramiro.
Is there a second? I'll second it if it needs to be seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? And then John Pogue to the Miscellaneous Ambulance Committee.
How come you can be on that one, not the others?
We don't need to worry about that. We got a second? Or we got a motion for John Pogue? Gary, is there a second? Gary and Gary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Correspondence, I received, when I was handed this the other day, the UCCI is having a membership meeting
15.
Monday the 15th at the Singing Oak Club Ballroom in Springfield. Buffet breakfast starts at 8:30. If anybody is interested in going, I think it'd probably be a good one. UCCI is United Counties Council of Illinois. I will not be able to attend, but if somebody is able to, I would love for you to report back. You can make it, okay. Next Thursday, the 17th.
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, okay, my bad.
Wait, what, the seventh?
No, this is something different.
Okay.
Okay, this is, the 15th is with the
Okay, got
UCCI, the 17th is, I think, the UACBM.
It's, yeah, ICBM, IACO.
Yep, they're having a meeting up in Normal, talking basically about how to, do your ARPA funding and maintaining it. I have signed up for attending that. I believe Jessica's going up there too. Hopefully we can come back with some good ideas on ARPA funding. I have nothing else on that. Approval of claims. Somebody like to make a motion to approve the claims? Second? Can I get a second? I thought I heard it. Okay, Paul, Don and Paul. Roll call.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Mark Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Paul Kennedy. Brian Kaufman.
Yes.
Dennis Durnovich.
Yes.
Jesse Durbin.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yes.
Bobby Orman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
John Pope.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Jeff Slifer.
Yes.
David Switz.
Yep.
Don Tate. Glenn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Have a motion to adjourn? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Everybody have a great Veterans Day tomorrow.